Hey everyone, this is Josh from Muscle Shirt Productions. Before I get into this review, I just want to say that Scream is one of my favorite horror movie franchises, and as long as more Scream movies keep getting made, I will always continue to see them. But with that being said, I must admit that this new Scream movie was average at best. Now, let me just say that it's totally cool if you really liked or loved this movie, and I'm not here to make fun of anyone. This review will be broken up into two main parts, the first being details of the movie without spoiling anything, and the second being spoilers. I will make sure to notify you once the spoilers start so not to ruin it for people who haven't seen the movie yet. I also want to note that I haven't seen any other reviews on this movie, and any similarities to what I say to other YouTubers is strictly coincidence. These are my original thoughts directly after seeing the movie. This movie is pretty simple to follow. If you've seen the trailers, then you know what the movie is about. A new generation of teenagers are attacked, and they receive help from the legacy characters. The movie is funny, violent, and meta, and though Wes Craven didn't direct and Kevin Williamson didn't write, though he did executively produce, you could still feel the essence of their presence, and I appreciate how the new creators worked very hard to keep the franchise going. They knew they had very big shoes to fill, and I can tell that they took it serious. And that's how this movie feels. You can tell that it's one of the more serious films in the franchise. Here are some other pros of the movie. The kills are no doubt some of the most brutal I've seen in a Scream franchise. Previous Scream movies have had their moments, but the kills in this one kept getting more violent as the movie went on. I also had no issues with the acting portrayed in the movie, and I felt like everyone did a good job in their part. I enjoyed seeing the original three back. Dewey and Gale's chemistry still shines, and there were times where I got choked up seeing them on screen again. I also like how they were all utilized in this movie, and I didn't mind their length of screen time either. The references to Randy was also nice to see. I also enjoyed the new characters in this film. Though some of them were flat, I didn't dislike or hate any of them. I just wish that some of them got more screen time because I wanted to see more of them because I did actually like them. I also enjoyed the sibling relationship aspects in this movie. The meta humor was okay in this film, and the movie had its funny moments of dialogue. I enjoyed how they were able to add more to the meta lore of the Scream franchise with the new takes on remakes, reboots, and sequels, or requels as they call it in the film. Though some of the meta dialogue was more in your face in this movie than previous installments, I'm willing to forgive the lack of subtlety because by now, in the fifth movie of the franchise, what do you expect? I also enjoyed the mention of the new horror movie craze from A24 Films and how these are the new horror movies. The cinematography in this movie helped give the movie a more serious tone, and though I did have problems with some of the set pieces, and I will get to those in the spoiler section, I must admit that the scenes were nice to look at. I like how the use of technology was used in this movie. They utilized apps and home security software, GPS, a variation of Find My Phone, and I like how Tara used her smartphone to help her answer movie questions from the killer. The use of the voice changer in the mask was also a nice touch as well, even though we did see some sort of variation of this in Scream 2. There are a lot of references to previous Scream movies in this movie, and any Scream fan would love to see them. Catching all of those scenes were fun to watch, and they did make me smile for nostalgia's sake. While I'm not going to spoil what the motives were in this section, I will say that I actually liked their motives and that they fit well into the Scream lore. It was nice to see Wes Craven being honored, and I did get choked up when I saw it. Wes was truly a great pioneer in the horror movie genre and has earned the recognition he deserves. Before I get into the spoilers, I'm going to talk about my mixed feelings on the music. This is the first movie in the franchise where Marco Beltrami didn't compose the music. If you check his IMDb page, you can see that he's been very busy and probably didn't have time to do the music. Instead, the new composer is Brian Tyler. He did a good sequence of suspenseful music with one character who kept opening and closing doors, and he did a rendition of Sydney's lament when she goes back into Stu's house. You also get a quick updated version of Dewey's theme from Scream 2, which was a nice touch. Red Right Hand also makes a small appearance, and it's nice to hear it, and I also like the way it was used in the movie. Other than that, I felt the rest of the music was okay but forgettable. You can hear Brian Tyler's essence of Marco Beltrami, but nothing new about the music really stood out to me or was memorable besides those few scenes. I don't know, it's hard to describe it. I've listened to the score by itself, and I really do like it, but I felt like the music in the movie was just in the background and didn't really elevate a lot of the scenes for me. The soundtrack also used in the movie was forgettable to me too. Here are the spoilers I have for the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, then I suggest you stop this video now and come back to it once you have watched the movie. Though there were aspects of this film I liked, I will admit that this movie did have some problems. The first con I have is how they handled the new story thread to the original movie. It is revealed that Sam Carpenter is actually Billy Loomis's daughter and that he may have cheated on Sydney. This could be explained in the fact that Sydney was reluctant to sleep with Billy and he could have slept with someone else. I would be forgiving of this, but we never see Sam's mother throughout the entire movie. It would have been better, in my opinion, to at least try to tie her mother into the original movie timeline somehow, rather than just an exposition dump. But who knows? Maybe they're saving that for another film. Also, Skeet Ulrich makes a cameo as Billy Loomis in a hallucination that Sam has because she's worried that she's a killer just like him. Even though his presence grew on me as the movie went on, her hallucinations just rubbed me the wrong way when I first saw it, and I feel like they could have explored that differently. I know his presence is used as a build up to the ending, but I feel as though the audience would have gotten the hint without him popping up throughout the movie. Another con I have is the reason why Dewey and Gail got a divorce. You find out that Gail got a job in New York and Dewey went with her, but 2 months later he found out that he couldn't hack it and left in the middle of the night back to Woodsboro. You mean to tell me that after all Dewey and Gail have been through, they're going to get a divorce because of that? I don't buy it. Especially after only 2 months of trying? I know that Gail constantly prioritized her career above anything else, and that always bothered Dewey, and it was a constant theme throughout the franchise. And who knows? Maybe after all these years, it finally reached a breaking point for Dewey. I just feel as though it would have taken a lot more than that for Dewey and Gale to actually split up. But that's just my opinion. One nitpick I have is how Sam first treated Sydney when she was trying to convince her to stay. She was very disrespectful to Sydney, and I know that's part of her character, and that she just wants her sister safe. But it's like, who do you think you are talking to Sidney Prescott like that? Especially after you went to Dewey's home and asked him to come help you? I also hate how empty the hospital was. I had the same problem with the ending of Scream 4. Where are all the nurses, doctors, and other patients? A hospital is always full of people. Was it mentioned in the movie that the floor was cleared out because Tara was on that floor and they did it as a safety precaution or something? Even though it was a nice looking scene, it doesn't negate the fact on why the hospital was empty. My final con is the killer reveals. I admit, I found Richie charming and likable, and I didn't even mind that the killer was another boyfriend. Also, even though Amber didn't have much screen time, I didn't mind her when she was actually shown. I didn't even mind them as killers, but it was pretty obvious that it was them, and that is the problem I had. I knew that Richie was the killer in the hospital scene when all Ghostface did was slice his arm and knock him out rather than actually brutally kill him. And then he didn't even help Dewey take down the killer in the hospital. I also knew it was Amber when she suddenly kicked out all of the party guests out of her house once Tara and Sam showed up. It could be argued that she did that as added security, Like maybe she wanted Tara and Sam to think that she was protecting them because who knows? Maybe Ghostface could have been one of those party goers. But still, it was pretty obvious. Also, their dialogue, to me, came off as cringy when they kept calling each other babe. I know that no other movie in the franchise can compare to the ending of the first movie, and I can't fault this movie for that. So, despite how I feel about the killer reveals being a con, it's not that problematic to where it ruined the movie for me. With all that being said, I do want to end this video on a high note, so I'll talk about some spoilers that I did like. I had a feeling that Dewey was going to die in this movie, and honestly, I actually liked the way he went out because it was very brutal, and I liked when the killer said, "It's an honor." I will admit that after first watching it, it did bother me how Ghostface got the upper hand at the end of that scene. Like, how was Amber able to overpower Dewey like that? But due to Dewey's age, sustaining his previous injuries, and getting distracted by his phone, it didn't bother me as much once I actually thought about it. And he did give her a beating before he died. I also liked that Gail and Sydney still lived, and I didn't mind the fact that the final act took place in Stu's house again. I liked that Amber and Richie met on Reddit because it reminded me of how Mickey and Mrs. Loomis met on a Psycho website in Scream 2. I also liked that they were stab fanatics because it reminded me of the original script from Scream 3 and how they would have been fanboys or girls of Billy and Stu doing the killings. I like how Sam killed Richie and channeled her inner Billy Loomis to stab him to death. And I thought Amber being set on fire was a funny nod to her previous role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when Leonardo DiCaprio sets her on fire with a flamethrower. I also like that Randy's niece and nephew, Mindy and Chad, lived, and it was a nice nod to Randy. It was also cool to see Sam and Tara live as well. In conclusion, those are my thoughts on the movie. I hope you all enjoyed my review, and I still encourage you all to watch the movie despite my views. Like I said, I always was, and always will be, a Scream fan, and no matter how I feel about this movie, I will always watch any new Scream movies that come out. Who knows? Maybe after more rewatching, I'll have a change of heart in some scenes, just like I did in my Scream 2 review. Until next time, this is Josh from Muscle Shirt Productions.